This episode of the Citadel Cafe is brought to you by listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe to find out how you can become a patron and help make this show possible. This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 328 for Thursday. Nope, it's not Thursday. It's Wednesday. Why did I say Thursday? I guess I must have typed it in the notes. Oh, you know what it was? We've missed a week. That giggle was Megan, by the way. We're rolling right through this. There is no backtracking now. It's August 7th, but it's a Wednesday. So last week we were supposed to record, and then I realized, wait a minute. This is still July. This would be like the 5th episode in July, and I hadn't scheduled anybody for week 5, and so we missed a week. So vacation happened on the Citadel Cafe, and no one knew about it. And here we are.
It was sort of an accidental vacation.
Hi,
Joel. How are you?
Hi. Hey, it's Megan, and you can find her at Megan Townsend and all the social media that matters. And my name is Joel Duggan. Did I mention that? I don't think I got that far. Anyway, this is the Citadel Cafe. We talk about geeky stuff, and we hang out. And we goof around. Megan and I have been talking for like 40 minutes before we even hit record. It's such, oh my God. It never fails. Like, this is like, let's carve out 90 minutes for a podcast. And meanwhile, the little podcast gremlins are just laughing to kill themselves. Going like 90 minutes. Yeah, right. See you guys.
Chat forever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hopefully we got it out of our system before. Before the show. So now we can talk.
All the tangents are gone. Lies. Absolute lies. We'll be talking about something random like cupcakes before the end of the show, I guarantee it. One of the nice things about the Citadel Cafe in the summertime is that I do tend to take, the odd week off. But because we do a weekly show and the expectations are usually about 4 episodes a month, when there is a 5th Wednesday, and we miss it, it's not the end of the world because people have already kind of received their 4 episodes. Specifically, I want to mention the Patreon because it is the first episode since the new month, which means that Patreon has charged all the people that support us here in the Citadel Cafe. And I just wanted to say thanks. There's been a lot of activity in the Discord, which I share the Citadel Cafe Discord with my personal Discord, and there's been some new folks there, and it's been kind of like a fun, bopping, nerdy place, people sharing all kinds of cool stuff. But when the month rolls over, I always want to take a moment to say thanks for the support because the Citadel Cafe is ad-free and remains that way because of you folks, the people that listen, and I really appreciate it. And there's going to be some news. There's going to be a special bonus episode happening today and going up on the Patreon feed, specifically about the community and where we're going with it. So if you're curious about that kind of thing, then head over to patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe and check it out. But because we are a show about nerdy stuff, I feel that the opportunity has presented itself to kick the show off with a hoverboard, a real hoverboard. So every once in a while, when I'm combing through my CBC newsletter, they'll have this little tick at the bottom and say, hey, here's some good news for your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever the day happens to be. Because quite often the news lately is either heavily political, which is always divided and has some vitriol behind it, or it's just plain old bad news, which we won't get into.
No.
But French hoverboard inventor, I believe his name is Frankie Zapata, has flown over the English Channel. Which,
on a hoverboard?
On a hoverboard. It's 35 kilometers in just 22 minutes, reaching speeds of 177 kilometers per hour.
Oh my God. That's
yeah.
So cool.
So for people in the U.S. that are in the miles, highway speed is roughly 120 kilometers an hour for like a 4-lane like interstate highway. So 177 kilometers an hour is fast when the only thing between you and the outside world is a helmet and some propellers that are strapped to your feet. I shouldn't say propellers. I think it's a jet hoverboard. This thing is mad. For anybody that hasn't seen it, there is a video that will be linked in the article in the show notes. But he is starting to set records and attempt to be the first person to do XYZ on this thing because it's hard to handle, but I guess the most stable it has ever been in terms of its invention. I don't know what it does for emissions and say like jet fuel consumption. I don't imagine it's the most efficient thing in the world.
Yeah, not yet, but
no, but man, I mean, to put it in a visual perspective, it's like an early Iron Man flying suit. Like he's got jets strapped to his feet, and he pilots straight up, leans forward, and cruises at, like I said, speeds up to 177 kilometers an hour. Super cool. It was really, really cool to see him do it, have it be a successful and safe landing on the other side. His assistant or I'm not sure what kind of landing partner, maybe family member, I'm not sure who it was, received him with a giant hug. So it looked really simple and very deceptively straightforward on the video, but I got the impression that it was a big freaking deal to them. Longest flight with this particular piece of hardware, all that kind of stuff. And it's really, really cool to see essentially sci-fi stuff like this happening, like
in real life.
Yeah. I see something similar on Instagram a lot. You don't necessarily always see the jet ski that it's attached to, but it's like these water recreation things that you see a lot of times in warmer climates where the people aren't flying, but they're coming out of the water like dolphins, like they're just straight up. And all it is just the jet ski, instead of shooting the water out the back of the jet ski, it's shooting the water out of the bottom of the boots that people are wearing. So you're attached with a hose to the jet ski, and the jet ski is usually off camera and you can't see it. But then this person is like swimming through the water head first like a dolphin, and they're not doing anything. They're just like up out of the water, they jump, they go back down in, and they're doing exactly what you've seen dolphins do when you see them, jumping in the wild. And it's madness. But then you take it to the next level when you put jets and do it in the air underneath your boots. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah, I've seen a few other posts about this, but the only thing I've ever seen them do is just like take off, fly around a park, and land, and they're like 10 meters off the ground, something like that. He was a lot higher than 10 meters in some of these photos. I mean, he's over water.
Yeah.
But I mean, at 177 kilometers an hour, hitting water would be like hitting a brick wall. Like, it really wouldn't matter if you crashed. It would probably still be very dangerous. Not to mention, I'm not sure how easy it is to evacuate. Like, if you crash and you're alive after that and conscious, like, how easy is it to just like, do you pull just like a zip line and just like poof, you're free? And then the poor thing sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Like, I don't know. But anyway, it was a neat bit of like positive sci-fi-esque news that I wanted to share.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's actually amazing.
Yeah, and he's
Super
my
cool.
age. He's my age. I feel underaccomplished.
Is he actually?
Yeah, he's 4 years old.
It's like, feel underaccomplished. You've accomplished a lot.
I can't fly, Megan. There's some
You'll
things.
Get there. You'll get there. I have ways.
Listening to the Avengers theme when I'm on my run every day has not yet made me airborne. But speaking of sci-fi, we can jump into what we have been watching. And I have actually started a new series. And I'm happy to report I don't have a rant. It's actually quite good.
Oh.
Another Life is on Netflix. It came out near the end of July. Now, I'm going to say this is going to be spoiler-free. I am only 3 episodes in. I am pacing myself. I am not a binge watcher. It's been beautiful here, so I've not really been spending any time inside. All of my usual dinner time Netflix watching has been me sitting outside listening to a podcast while I eat dinner. So I've not been doing any of that. However, it stars Katie Sackhoff, Justin Chatwin, Samuel Anderson, Blue Hunt, and some others. It's a pretty large ensemble cast, actually. And it is about let's see if I can get this without giving too much away. It's like an alien probe or artifact lands on Earth. This is in the trailer. Happens in the first 5 minutes of the show. It's this weird kind of like litmus loop looking crystal thing that just kind of lands and then apparently starts sending a signal to outer space. And so the long game is like, where did it come from? What are their intentions? What is it saying? Because, of course, no one speaks the language. So Earth is trying to figure this out. And it's set in a future where they address a bunch of really cool stuff. It's still kind of like, it's not too far off. Like, everybody still lives in the same kind of house. But all their tablets are like, hologram calls and like really kind of next level tech stuff. Space travel still very much looks like, a rotating, not a gyrosphere, but like it's like a long cylindrical thing that spins to simulate gravity. Like, it's not Star Trek, right? Like, there's no warp speed. They do have light speed, I think, but it's very gritty. It looks like a cross between, say, like the tech from Aliens, like Sigourney Weaver Aliens, like that kind of that series, and maybe Battlestar Galactica. I've got Battlestar Galactica on the brain because, of course, Katie Sackhoff played Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica. But and she's a good actor. I quite like her, and she's like the leader. She's the captain of the mission. So the idea is that while scientists on Earth are working towards figuring things out and being sciencey, the world military, I feel, or at least the U.S. kind of space organization, organizes a mission, pulls Katie Sackhoff, I don't remember her character's name, out of retirement and says, hey, you're the best person to lead this mission. We want you to go up in space and find out what they want. Because I think the big episode 1 piece of information is that they have a location. They know where the signal is returning to. So that the idea being like, oh, so if we follow the signal, we'll find the people or things that sent it. And so that's the mission. Is first contact is the mission. But in a weird way, the show gets episodic, and things start to go wrong on this very long space journey, which is like 6 months or more. And Katie Sackhoff has to figure out what the hell is going on. And what's really interesting about it, at first you're like, oh gosh, I don't want this to be crisis of the week, even though you could binge it and have it all done. But it very much feels like an old television model when you first get hit with it, because something happens and then they resolve it, or they move on from it, or they check it off in the first episode. It's like, I still don't know what the aliens are up to. Like, all of those big questions are probably season and or series long.
Right.
But the mini things, the interrelationships and the, fights or disagreements or friction on the crew are like, wow, that was solved awful quick. But what's interesting is that as you watch more than one episode, they start to overlap those things. So it becomes,
interesting.
Yeah, so it becomes a calamity of errors. It's like, okay, and you start to feel the stress of what it would be like if things, not one thing, but things start to go wrong in space, and how it's like being on a submarine where, instead of drowning, you're just instantly killed. There is no going back. Like, they're far enough away that if something goes real wrong, they're just buggered. And so the stress of like trying to keep yourself alive, the crew alive, the mission on point, and not, do anything that would jeopardize, yourself or the crew or the planet or all this kind of stuff. So there's all these big, heavy decisions, and then you have to weigh it against other not priorities, we'll say other desires, from other crew members and things like that. And so more than one thing goes wrong, or more, I shouldn't say goes wrong. More than one event happens that piques your interest per episode. They're resolved quickly as far as episodes go, but they overlap. So even though you fixed thing 1 in episode 2, thing 3 happens in episode 2 and is or isn't resolved until episode 3. And so like it has this weird kind of like, it's like watching episodes that overlap, right? It's a bizarre kind of format, so it takes a little bit to get used to. But effects are great, concept is great, sci-fi is great. Like, they give a reason for all kinds of things. But in terms of time passing, they're at a point, I think I mentioned that they have faster than light travel, and in order to accomplish that, the crew goes into stasis sleep, where they don't age. So you could potentially be asleep for a very long time. And because this journey is months long, the idea is that, like they were supposed to get there at the end of 6 months or very close to it, and then the computer wakes everybody up, and then they start to prep for first contact. I mean, spoiler, they wake up before that. I think that's in the trailer too. And so they have to figure out why did I wake up? What went wrong? Like, what's the emergency? What do we have to do to move on? And the thing about that is that when characters that you are following go into stasis sleep, then you don't know what happened. So they wake up months later. And so even though an episode has passed, for the characters and everybody on the crew, it's been months. So if something has gone wrong or if something has changed on the ship and you don't know why, you have no clue, because you, the viewer, like the character you've been following, have been asleep for months. Like, so, and it's just so, there's that, like, next episode starts and everything is on its head, good or bad. And you're just like, what the hell happened? So you have like 1,000 questions, but you're not like pissed off about it because because of the stasis sleep. You're like, wow, oh, right. Like, as soon as you have those 1,000 questions, you're just like, right, there's been enough time that it's not like the show says so, everything happened. It's like, no, there's been enough time for all kinds of stuff to happen. Like relationships can form and dissipate in months, right? But if you're asleep for the whole time and you have no perception of that, then, like when you wake up, things are very different. The crew might be different because the idea is that there's a contingency, like, so there's several crews on board and you wake up the ones that you want, right? And if someone isn't fit for the job or they need a different expert, then they have to go wake them up. And so it's this interesting kind of thing that I've not seen in sci-fi. And they handle it very, very well. And it's got, I really like the actors that I mentioned earlier. They're all good. Justin Chatwin plays Katie Sackhoff's husband. He's on Earth, so he's one of the science dudes. And they have a child, so he's there being like single dad to their like 10-year-old or 12-year-old kid. And she's really cute. And they have some really fun moments. But there's also like the stressful moments of like, like having a service member, someone in the military that's away for long periods and having to deal with that, and how emotional they get when they do the hollow calls. And there's all those kind of things that chime into like real world kind of stuff today. But the thing that I really like about it is the AI. So on the spaceship, Samuel Anderson plays, is it Michael? I can't remember. I think it's Michael. I think they call him Michael. Anyway, they just call him by his first name. But he's a computer. He's the AI, but he's got a holograph. So he shows up, or a hologram. He shows up as a hologram, and he's been programmed to emote. So he's supposed to get to know the crew and then interact with them in the most, not efficient, but like, to make it as seamless and as effortless for the crew as possible. So like, if a crew member responds negatively to certain body language when he interacts with that crew member, he doesn't do that, right?
Right.
Or if he's dealing with somebody that responds better to authority, then he speaks in shorter sentences and is a little bit more gruff, sort of idea. Just gives them the facts, because some people just want the facts, and other times he's more playful and has a little bit more personality, and it's fake. Like, it's programmed to just like, oh, this bubbly crew member likes me better and responds better to me when I'm friendlier, right? And right. So it's really neat because like on Star Trek you had the computer where everybody goes, computer do this, computer do that, and in this they just say the name. And so similar to calling out like a personal assistant like we all do right now, to like set a timer or ask the weather, that kind of thing. Instead of just having a noise come from across the room, a hologram appears next to you and goes, "Oh, hi, what can I help you with?" It's really cool. And Anderson, who plays the AI, does a phenomenal job. He's just so good at all the really subtle facial things. When stuff happens that's dangerous, you can tell that he's programmed to show emotion and to feel emotion, but he's also then confused by it because it's new to him. It's really, really interesting.
This sounds like it's kind of hitting a lot of different sci-fi elements. Like, that kind of sounds really similar to, I remember when we talked about Detroit Become Human.
Yes.
And like one of the main characters, Connor, like he's kind of on this fine line between, being purely just an unfeeling machine and an emotional, like feeling person, right? So he's kind of on that cusp. So like when he does start feeling emotion, he's like, oh, this is weird. Okay. And then it depends on how you play him, right? Like I played him as a good human boy. Because he is like one of those one characters who you can, flip flop between if you want. But yeah, no, this sounds really cool. Like I've been looking for a new show to watch. I've been like kind of, you know, going back and forth between a lot of stuff, but this sounds rad.
Yeah, and it's a really diverse cast, right? I mean, because they put it far enough in the future that it feels like a lot of things that are causing stress in our current society are just like not even mentioned. Like it's just a thing. Like I haven't looked into it, but Zane is the medical officer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a trans character, and they glaze over it. Like they don't even mention it. It's just like that's just how it is. It's a obviously it's a multiracial cast. So I mean,
Yeah.
again, like they're doing first contact. So like the ship is just composed of humans, not America. It's there's a lot of
Yeah.
different stuff. Now, I mean, everybody speaks fluent English, and there are some people that have other backgrounds. People mention like Russian background or this, that, and the other thing, or Hispanic background, but no one's speaking with any kind of accent. It's just that they've all just been educated in multiple languages or whatever,
Right.
but it also just makes it it removes the stereotypes, but it also makes it easy to understand because sometimes there's a lot of techno babble, and so like if it was that through like a thick Russian accent that's terrible, then it's just not going to do anything for the show. So they kind of present it all in English just because it's an easy watch, but it doesn't feel um, like North America washed. Like it
Right.
doesn't feel diluted. I guess there's still enough culture in it that
Yeah.
it doesn't feel watered down. The what was the other thing that I wanted to mention too? Oh, the one thing that strikes you immediately, and they kind of explain it with a throwaway line, is that everybody is really young. Like it looks kind of like a CW cast. Everybody, not everybody is like super pretty. There are a couple people that are just like, okay, you're you were cast and you're I mean it's also Hollywood. I mean like so a lot of actors are good looking. So
Yeah.
there's a number of those kind of people, but everyone regardless of whether they're meant to be like the scruffy engineer guy or the the slightly heavier computer nerd or whatever those kind of types are, they all have this like under 30 really attractive kind of feel to them.
Mm.
But they explain that in a weird kind of one-off line where they say like after 28 everything just kind of goes downhill like instinctively as a species. So the idea for space travel is that they only put young people in space because there's no maternal instinct, there's no fear, there's no, like it's just everybody's just like gung-ho, I want to impress
Right.
everybody, it's all bravado. And that's the kind of like quick thinking and mission first, not self first, that they wanted to have. And so one of the criticisms that they have of Katie Sackhoff, the leader, Nico is her character's name, is because she has a kid. So they're questioning like, well, are you doing this for the betterment of the planet, or are you just out here to protect your family? And she's always like, well,
Yeah.
both, dipshit. Like, just stop it. But there's those kind
Yeah.
of, but she's not 28, like, and the character isn't either. So there's those kind of like frictions between like essentially like the snotty kids and the leaders, and the
I love
government.
everything that you're saying to me.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
No,
I'm
it's
really into this. I might give this a go.
and it's I did not look in to see if it's based off a book or anything like that because I'm really enjoying it and I don't want to like stumble upon any kind of spoilers because it's a Netflix show, so people have binged it, people have watched it.
Hmm.
There has been some chit chat about it in our Discord. People have been very respectful and saying like, nope, watched it, liked it, like or watched it and like it was unique and very not even opinions. Like not really coming down like, oh, I hated the ending or stuff like that. People aren't even mentioning it. They're just saying like, yeah, no, it's worth checking out. So that's kind of where I've kind of stuck it. And we have a spoiler chat for people that want to get into that kind of stuff, and then you can just enter that at your own risk. But I've not dug into a lot of inside baseball in the show because I don't want to stumble on any spoilers on Wikipedia, even on IMDb. After watching the first few episodes, I don't want to go through the IMDb cast because it might indicate how many episodes someone was in, and I don't want
Yeah.
to know. It doesn't. I won't know if they've died or left the show, or it's just that character wasn't shown anymore that season. I just don't want to have that mental knowledge. Like I like bouncing from episode to episode, and it's yeah, like I said, it's really really good. There are, if I was going to say anything that's weak because of the ensemble cast and the size of it, some of the characters are a little bit flat. It's good acting for the most part. There is some angry acting. It's some high tension situations. There's a lot of just flat out yelling, and it goes on for a
Yeah.
little bit too long. And some characters just never stop, and it's just like I kind of get tired of it. But at the same time, it's only 3 episodes. Those characters might have arcs later on that calm them down or give them other facets that I have not yet seen. Michelle is one of the characters, and she plays like the mouthy. I don't remember what her role is. I wonder if she's like an astral engineer or she's like a physicist or something. She does a lot of like course plotting or like communications or something like that. But it's
Hmm.
played by Jessica Camacho, and she's just really angry and one note all the time, like chip on shoulder character kind of stereotype. Like really not a lot of effort written for her. And unfortunately, she feels typecast to me because the last thing I saw her in, she plays Gypsy on The Flash, and she plays like a transdimensional like headhunter in that show.
Okay.
And she's just like all business all the time. Even her dad is like I can't remember the actor's name, but he's like a famous Latino actor. Plays a lot
Hmm.
of like gruff bad guy, takes no guff off anybody sort of situation.
Yeah.
And so she's a chip off the old block in the Flash, and the Flash is kind of like a cartoon version of real people anyway. So and this is the thing, like she brings that kind of like, I get that she's supposed to be surly and angry, but she's no one is this angry all the time. Even if you are an angry
Yeah.
person, you're just not. No one has the energy to be this
To be that angry.
angry all the
Yeah.
time. And so I'm just wondering how much of the other things that I've seen her in I'm bringing to the show. But I'm hoping that they go past it because, like I said, the diverse cast, they have an opportunity to do something different, and if they can broaden the appeal to the characters, I think they'll get a lot out of it. My worry is that it looks like some characters may not be on the show very long, and if that's the case, I'd rather them not waste episodes being flat, because if they're flat and then they're not there anymore, then that sucks, because that means like then you really can criticize, oh yeah, that was a flat character, did not like them. Whereas if they round them out more and you have more reasons to like them, then it hits a lot harder if bad stuff happens or bad
Hmm.
stuff could happen. And it has, that's why it reminds me of Battlestar Galactica, because no one in the cast feels safe just because they're in the first episode. Like just because this is
Right.
the crew does not mean this is the crew of your Starship Enterprise. Like everybody's got a red shirt on, and it's just
Yeah.
it's a matter of like what's going to happen and how. And anyway, so I feel like I've been blabbering on about it for a while, but I'm excited to have a fresh sci-fi show that doesn't feel like a repeat of other stuff I've already watched.
Yeah. No, it sounds fantastic. Like we'll have to talk about it more once I dive into it.
Oh,
I haven't had
absolutely.
time.
Yeah, I wanna finish it up over the next little while, and I do want to have another conversation on the show with you and or other people. I feel like Alistair would really like it too.
Mm.
Just to unpack it in a spoiler filled area where we can just dive in and not worry about stuff, because it is one of those shows like Game of Thrones where like you just cannot talk about episodes without spoiling the experience, because stuff just
Yeah.
so much happens that you're just like, oh god, because it would just be like and then this happened and then this happened and then this happened, and everybody would just like, wait, what? What? Like it just, yeah, it's pretty cool. So what have you been up to? What's been on your radar the last little while?
Well, I haven't really been watching anything because I've been reading a thing. I've been reading a script for a play. I'm in a play.
Nice.
So this whole last, late July into now, we're kind of getting into crunch time of rehearsals and everything. And it's so every year in Halifax in the summer we do this thing called the Fringe Festival. So it's basically where small theater groups can just put up anything that they want as long as they can fit into a small space, like nothing extravagant. It's kind of just taking theater and like cutting it down. Also, I'm really sorry if you hear any noise. A garbage truck just decided to roll through. If you hear all that sound. My apologies. It's just really loud on my end, so I'm just like, I'm sure everyone can hear that. My apologies. But yeah, so like Halifax Fringe Festival is like a week long theater festival where like small theater groups will get together and people kind of bounce around and just see a bunch of plays. And I'm in a really small one. There's a main cast of like 5 people. Uh, yeah, about 5 people.
What's the name of the play?
Um, it's called Safe, and it's written by a guy named Israel Ekanam. Ekanam? I don't know. He's from Nigeria, but he's lived in Canada for years, and he has a media company called Ubuntu Media, and it's like a drama multimedia production. It's kind of set in like a sort of dystopian future where you know emotions have basically been eradicated. There's like a sort of emotion suppressing drug that they have that everyone's taking, and it was a way for people to the thought process behind it was this is going to create peace because no one's going to be mad, no one's going to be upset, no one's going to be jealous. There's just going to be no one's going to be angry, hateful of hate or anything. It's just going to be neutral, and everyone will be peaceful. That's kind of what the thought behind it was. But
Right.
it sort of turned into this, um, military sort of environment where everyone is just unfeeling husks, and there's a small group of people who've been like, no, we're supposed to be we're supposed to feel things. We're supposed to be able to love and laugh and have, joy and all this stuff. Like those, that's kind of what we strive for. Yes, you get the bad with the good, but like let's try and, let's everyone we're meant to be people. Like we're meant to have emotions. That's kind of a whole basis of our being. So the story is about like this small group of people who are trying to um basically take down this whole organization from the inside, like the organization that's basically pushing this whole unfeeling agenda onto the world, and take it down from the inside to kind of make people feel again. So
Cool.
it seems very deep for what it is. Like it's short. It's only like a 35-minute production.
Oh, cool.
I do a couple stunts though, which is kind of cool. Um,
Nice. It's
yeah,
it's
well,
funny too
by a
because like
stunt, I mean like
but still like it's got like a sci-fi element to it. It
yeah,
reminds me, I mean you brought it up just a few minutes ago of Detroit Become Human and what you've told me about that game. Like
kinda,
but
yeah,
in a way of like we're talking about like even the AI on Another Life having like emotions programmed in, right? And how important they are in its
yeah.
interactions with the crew. Like that sounds as I mean if you don't mind me asking, and I obviously don't give anything away, but as an actor, I would imagine expressing emotion is usually at the forefront of what you're required to do.
Hmm.
So how hard is it to like recite
It's a
lines
ch-
and like
it's
deliver and communicate without any emotion?
it's a challenge. I mean, so my character does have emotion.
Oh, okay.
Um, so yeah, my character does have emotion. She tries to pretend that she doesn't, but she does. Um, so my character is part of like the militant force that's behind this
Oh,
whole
okay.
thing, but she's like a mole kind of. She's like a double agent.
So,
Um,
it's like,
so
and you're a spy. Wow.
and I'm a spy. Yeah, no, it's so yeah, she's one of the people like there's like a group called um the Sanctuary, I think it's called. There's a lot of like elements in the show. Like it's a very very finely crafted world, and Israel is he's got such an amazing vision for stuff. Um and he's made like a short film about this called like one of them was called Drown the Lovers, and it was in like the same world where like these two people were in love, and like it accidentally got out. So like as their last like sign of affection for each other, like just before they're about to be, because like they do this whole cleanse, they call it a cleansing ceremony, but they basically execute people who are feeling. It's like this is a virus, we got to get rid of all these people who feel stuff. um so it's dark, like it's definitely not like a happy thing, I don't think, but it is, it kind of raises up the question of like, hey, like would peace be a thing if everyone didn't feel, but what would the cost be of that, right? So I don't know, it's interesting. um Yeah, no, I have to like pretend that I don't feel anything while also kind of giving subtle hints that I do. And that is difficult.
Yeah.
It's harder for I think one of the other like most of the people in on stage are gonna feel something or gonna like seem like they feel something. Um, and the only person I think who's not feeling anything is he's not feeling anything at first, and then they're trying to like convert him into feeling, and then he's like he kind of has like this minute of just like something's really wrong, I don't like this, and then I won't spoil anything, but yeah,
Hmm.
there's a lot of elements to it. Um, there's some loud noises that happen, a lot of gunshots. I actually get to shoot a BB gun on stage, which is kind of
Cool.
that looks like a real gun. It looks
Cool.
quite scary actually. Like it's very big and they're very heavy. But I've had one of Israel's friends is he used to be in the military and did tactical
Training and
military
stuff.
work
Oh,
and his
neat.
training and everything. So he's kind of helping us train with guns. So we've been learning proper gun procedure and safety and things like that as well. So
Yeah.
it's like for a play, that's 35 minutes. We only have 3 shows. They're at the end of August, so August 30th, 31st, and the 1st. Tickets are on sale. I'm sure I can send you the link for those.
Hmm.
If you're in the Halifax area, you want to see me shoot a gun on stage, come hang out.
Well,
It
yeah.
sounds like it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, no, it
Um,
absolutely does. And I'm looking at the page right now, and one of the things that they mention is like lighting effects, sudden loud noises, scenes of violence, or I guess
yeah.
suggested violence, obviously because it's a play.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's good to know. And I'll have links to the Halifax Fringe Festival website as well as the direct link for Safe and a little synopsis and stuff that they have there for people that are interested in the show notes. And we'll toss it in the Discord as well. And hey, you've got an inside track. Like if you go see it and you want to talk to someone about it that was in it, Megan is in the Discord. you,
Yeah.
you can do that too. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. Like I know
Thank
that I
you.
know that I tagged you on Instagram when you first mentioned it, like when you announced that you were in it.
Yeah.
But I even saw you the other night, and I don't know if I said congrats. I
Oh,
must
it's fine.
I must
It's
have.
fine.
I'm sure I did. Anyway, no, I'm happy for you. That's really cool. And
Yeah, it's the first like play thing I've done in a long time. Like I've been,
yeah,
everyone knows I'm trying to get back into the whole acting thing, which is great. But
yeah.
someone said one time, I read somewhere that theater makes you good, TV makes you rich, and movies make you famous. So
Nice.
I'm gonna focus on doing because if you're in a TV show, you're basically working on it for a long period of time, right?
Yeah,
Hopefully, that's the goal.
yeah,
So you basically just play the same character and you'd rack up a bunch of money from
yeah.
doing that, I guess,
From
from
doing that.
royalties and stuff. But like
Yeah.
the theater aspect of it, like if you can effectively portray emotion on theater or on stage within a theater without having to rely on editing,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
pretty. That's I mean, it's a hard skill. Like I'm having a hard time with it. I kind of walked in and I was like, oh, I'm hot shit. Like I've done a bunch of theater in my life, and I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
wow, it's been a bit. I'm very out of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm trying to translate. I find that I'm a better screen actor myself because I like the subtleties of performance,
Right.
but
Which are much easily captured on camera
yes,
compared to stage. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how to get those subtleties across on stage in a louder sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
While
so
pretending to have no emotion while
yeah,
having underlying emotion. Just like
yeah,
you, I mean, it's short, but you picked a doozy to get back in on.
I did. Yeah. Well, and it was the only thing that sounded really interesting,
Well, it
right?
is
Like
interesting, and that was the other thing I was gonna say. It's like it's a lot of times you'd see people getting back into it. I say a lot. I don't know, but you would think fairly straightforward play, probably like a like a one set drama, or maybe some Shakespeare in the Park, something like
yeah,
that. But this is
yeah.
out there. Like this is not something that
It's out
this is a
there.
run. This is not a run of the mill. I mean, the pitch reads like a TV show or a movie,
Yeah.
not a stage
And
play, right?
and Israel is a very like I think he has more of a film and TV mind. Like I have found like
Hmm.
during rehearsal, um, a lot of the stuff that he wants to do seems like it's coming from. I mean, it is. He has most of his background is in film and television.
Hmm.
So his directing style is like let's go, with this sort of thing. I'm like this is not really going to translate very well to theater. I think fortunately a lot of us like one of the girls that I'm playing off of is her name is Sam, and she's done Fringe I think every year for like 6 years. or something. Like she's been doing Fringe for a long time, so she like either producing or directing or being in something. She's done Fringe for a long time. So like we've been able to kind of all work together as a team. And Israel's not very precious about stuff either. So like there's been a couple of monologues and stuff that he's written. I'm just like, this doesn't flow properly. Can I cut out some lines? And I just kind of tried it out, and he was like, I like that. Cool, do your thing. There are some things he's particular about that it's like specific world building stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, like the way instead of like we talk about a place called O District, and some people were calling it the O District or District O, and he was like, no, it's O District
Right.
because that's an important world building
It's
thing.
important.
I don't know
note,
if that's yeah. Excuse me. I don't know if that's going to be really relevant for audience members, but I think in terms of if you with this play, I think he's hoping it's going to launch off some other
Right.
side things. Like if you saw this, here's a side section of this world, and like it's all in the same universe, but it's like different stories happening in the same world, which is kind of neat. I really like it. Like
When you're developing an IP, like you tend
yeah,
to be very particular about that kind of stuff because you never know when it's going to take off. And if you're the one behind it, then I mean, like you're a theater nerd, like you're an acting nerd, in all the best way possible. But
yes,
the person directing it that wrote it is also like an uber nerd and would really want these kind of finer details because other people in that kind of group will want to get into the minutia of it. And for that, you'd want that minutia to be precise. I'm the same way with like, little sub characters and sideways things in my old comic strip Starcross. Like, I mean, I would have like, the super cute barista that didn't have a name and all this kind of stuff. And people would want to name her. It's like, no, part of the fun is that she doesn't have a name, and she's just the super cute. And everybody would eventually over time, people would start to ask about the super cute barista. Like that would be her name as far as the readers were concerned. And so, like, if you're careful about that kind of stuff and you do it intentionally and you stick to it, then eventually the super fans will grab it and be like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing this on purpose. I'm that kind of stuff I think is important when you're doing world building. And I mean, I've not done anything as large as say this kind of world building, but even on a smaller scale, it's usually important to keep that kind of stuff straight. Well, that brings us into the Internet Minute. The Citadel Cafe is listener supported. That means people just like you that enjoy the show, that get some value out of it, put some value back in. And if you'd like to do that to help us make more podcasts, then you can become a member at patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Supporting at any level will get you access to the Discord chat where we talk about nerdy stuff like the Fringe Festival and Lego and all kinds of stuff all week long. It's a lot of fun. Currently have a new Minecraft community server that launched last week, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And so there's a lot of chatter happening around there. So there's really something for everybody on the Patreon. And I want to give it a shout out to the folks that are supporting us there. And we are down one patron. So we lost a member over the last month or so. However, I want to give a nod and a thank you to Yuri Teraday, who upped their membership, kind of compensating for the person that left. But if you're interested, then patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe is the best place to go and support the show. Keeps us ad-free, keeps us supported by awesome listeners like you, and you get a lot of really cool stuff out of it. At least I think so. And our goal is always to have one more patron than we did last month. Currently, we're back down to 19. I liked the 2. I want the 20. So if you're out there and you're interested, head over to patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe and become a member. And speaking of Lego, the Lego Treehouse from Lego Ideas has hit the Lego store. It is officially released. I've been watching this build for a little while, and it is cool. It is really cool. So this is my internet pick this week, and I was really surprised. It is 3,036 pieces.
Wow.
It is $270, which is typical Lego holy crapness, but surprisingly, usually with Lego Ideas specifically because they're so unique and they often require like a unique combination of pieces, but sometimes even specialty pieces, I often find that they are priced way out of my, not only my budget, really, I mean, $300 for Lego is out of my budget anyway, but just the actual like value perception of like, you're charging $300 for that, and it's like a windmill or something, and and now I'm not talking about like a rustic windmill from like the Netherlands. I'm talking about like a modern solar, like a wind power windmill, white stick with white blades, and it's like $300.
Yeah.
Usually when you break down Lego to a, say, cost per piece, you're looking at between 18 to 25 cents per piece retail. This breaks down even after taxes in this region to about 10 cents per piece, which is way lower than Lego normally retails for. There's a lot of little tiny detail. The little tree houses have insides. They have rope ladders. I think there's a slide. There's a little river that goes by the set. Like there's all these different things. And I feel like even though, and it's not a ginormous build, but it's not small either. I feel like because of the piece numbers and because of how small everything is, it would take a very long time to build. So the playtime for money, I think, is there. It also looks like something that I would be happy to display kind of anywhere. It's not something that you'd have to force into your Lego city if you have one. It's one of those things where like it sort of looks like a house plant. Like you could probably kind of just stick it in your living room somewhere. And it's got like, well, it's a tree. It's mostly a tree with a couple little houses in it, and the tree is made of Lego, and there's all these leaf pieces. And I think the thing that really made it feel unique to me was that the tree canopy has alternate fall colors. So if you don't want it to be a green tree, you could make it an orange and yellow tree by just using a different set of pieces that they send with it. So you can change it if you want to have it change with the seasons, or you can just build the one that you like and leave it, which I thought was a really neat idea. I've not seen them leave those kind of options for people before.
That's cool.
Yeah. I knew the fall leaf colors were a thing because they've had like desert builds and things like that. And then somebody, I can't remember her name. She's a famous Lego builder. She did Rivendell at one of the big Lego conventions, and it was massive. But because Rivendell is like perpetual fall, she had leaf colors that represented fall. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. I've never seen those before. But it's one of those things where like the piece it exists. You just have to order enough of it to create these kind of like cool looks in forests. And you don't normally get a single set that ships with this number of colored leaf pieces, because normally the tree in your build in Lego is like, it's a small thing off to the side. The tree is not the build, which is what is the case with this Lego Ideas thing. So yeah, I'm happy to see another cool Lego Ideas thing go from someone that designed it on their own, and then distributed and produced by Lego. I think it's a really cool program that they have going, and I'm excited. If I had an unlimited budget, this would be on it. This would be the next thing that I picked up from Lego. I think as much as I like the sci-fi and the Star Wars stuff, this looks really, really cool. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of the Citadel Cafe. If you enjoyed this and want to know more about what we talked about, you can find links in the show notes at thecitadelcafe.com. The music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod. You can email the show at thecitadelcafe@gmail.com or find us by name on Twitter and Facebook. You can subscribe on iTunes, Android, Stitcher, and Spotify. At the moment, we're looking into YouTube just to kind of see if we can spread the word a little bit more, so keep your eye out for that. But honestly, spreading the word about the podcast is the easiest way to help the show. It is 100% free to just poke a friend in the arm and say, hey, I like this. You probably would too. Give it a listen. Let me know what you think. And then you guys can nerd out about us, which would be really cool. My name is Joel Duggan. You can find everything I am doing online at joelduggan.com. That includes my illustration and design portfolio. Right now, I'm going to point you towards twitch.tv/JoelDuggan. That's where I do a lot of my streaming, which includes Minecraft stuff. And this past week, I launched the Citadel Community Minecraft server. It's called Infinity Cove, and it is on a very cool Minecraft seed and already populated with, I think, 10 players. It's become the busiest chat channel on the Discord. People are in there having fun, setting up the new server, having a blast. So if that is the kind of thing that you're looking for, if you're looking for a warm, welcoming, fun Minecraft community, on a server that also would help me make more videos and help me make more creative content, then check out Infinity Cove, and you can do that by heading over to patreon.com/JoelDuggan. Megan, where can people find you online?
People can find me online on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Megan Townsend. If you want to follow my personal project, The Heir of Keldanan, that is also on Instagram too. And if you want to check out the play, Safe, for the Fringe Festival, that is in the show notes, and also put it on Discord.
You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap, but you can only pick two. I pick fall.